one of the points that needs to be made very quickly is that I don't believe, and Rob does not believe, that we can do anything to gain our salvation. There's no work that I can do that's going to make God love me more. We are not we are not
or make you more righteous.
Yeah, we are not justified by the works that we do, or by keeping the Torah, or by Sabbath observance, or anything like that. So please don't hear us say that you can earn your salvation in some way. That is not what we are saying. And if that's what you think that we're saying, you need to go back and listen again. Okay, let's move on to this email that was given. I have 2 points, 3 paragraphs that I want to address here. So this is by Lauren. She wrote us an email. She says, "My concern," and this is in response to our talking about this very subject. She says, "My concern, I don't happen to think that salvation is by allegiance, or that final salvation is based on a person's continued allegiance. These ideas can lead to the belief that salvation is by works. I also think he's being too novel with the idea that pistis should be translated as allegiance." Okay, let's stop.
Back to Bates, referring to Matthew Bates' book.
Yeah, back to Bates' book. First of all, when I read Bates's 4th chapter, it's very clear that what he's saying, that the examples that he gives are not only in non-canonical literature, but also within Scripture. There are times that the word pistis is clearly a reference to allegiance. Clearly. And I don't think so. The comment that I also think he's being too novel with the idea that pistis should be translated as allegiance. I'm sorry, the evidence is weighed against you, heavily weighed against you, because there are obviously times where the word pistis does mean allegiance, both biblically and non-biblically. So he's not being novel in this. He takes instances where it clearly means allegiance. That's what this word can mean. If you look up in a dictionary, you have multiple different translations of what a word can mean. Pistis, one of the translations can be faith, and one of them can be allegiance, among other things. But this is not a novel idea that Bates is putting forward. So right there we're starting off a little bit not quite on the right foot.
But he does know to say salvation by allegiance alone. Admittedly, he's trying to create a catchy title, right? Because he's using,
of course,
sola fide and say, I'm going to kind of poke right where it hurts there.
Well, I mean, it's a brilliant title because people say, "Wait, what?"
And then they'll at least pick it up. And
they'll at least pick it up.
Right, yeah.
So, but the point is that he's not trying to force this word to mean something that it doesn't mean. The meaning is already the meaning already has this word. In other words, faith and allegiance are both translations of this word. All he's doing is taking the translation of allegiance and placing it into specific verses within the Bible. Now, here's the thing. In her first comment, she says, "I don't happen to think that salvation by allegiance or that final salvation is based on the person's continued allegiance." Okay, stop right there. Let's talk about this for a second. The thing is that for me, what we need to do is look at the Bible. In other words, it doesn't matter how I feel about the idea that pistis can mean allegiance. Let's look at the Bible and see what the context actually says. And then we'll work from the Bible outwards. My personal conviction and or my personal thought on what the Bible should say, and she's going to actually reference this below, has nothing to do with whether or not the Bible actually says something or not. What we need to do is look at what the Bible actually says, what the intention of the author was, and what the words that the author uses are intended to mean, and then from there we can try to figure out what that means for our doctrine and so on. So, the idea that this might be, sketchy or whatever, well, the question is not whether or not it's sketchy theology. The question is, does the Bible actually use it this way? And the answer is, yeah, it does. So now we have to actually reconcile that with the Bible. And I don't think that it's a problem. I don't think that I don't think that there is any problem in translating it this way. She goes on. Do you want to stop and say anything about that before we move on?
Go ahead.
Okay. Towards the end of the email, she says this. She says, and then I'll pass this over to you. I don't know if you have the email in front of you. I'm sure that there's things you want to talk about. She says, Caleb seemed to agree with Bates's translation of Romans 3. But in addition to Bates's repurposed version of the passage, I don't think it's repurposed. I think that what Bates is trying to do is say, can we use the term allegiance here? And would this make more sense than faith? So I don't think that's repurposed. I think he's asking a genuine question about the language itself. But she says, Caleb exchanged the preposition of with to. And then she quotes me, the righteousness of God through the allegiance of Jesus the Christ, or should it be to Jesus Christ for all who give allegiance? End quote of me. Now back to Laura. She says, if we translate words to match our preferred theology, that translation becomes an interpretation. Okay, let's stop right there for a second. The reason that I said, or should it be to, is because the Greek is ambiguous. So this is not me trying to retranslate something into a preferred theology. I'm trying to be honest with the text, something that your English translation does not do. You don't know from the English translation whether or not it should be to or of. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking the subscribe button and check out more videos from Messiah Matters.